So, after a top 10 list and talking about a Mars Attacks Cartoon Network, I'm here. I finally today got the Mars Attacks IDW trade, and as I said, I'm going to do a review on it. So, here we go. Now, like I said before, and for those who don't know, Mars Attacks IDW was a little event they did in January where for 5 weeks they did a one-shot with Mars Attacks crossing over with another IDW property, that being Popeye, Transformers, robots versus zombies, the real Ghostbusters, and Kiss. And we got this. So I got this off of Amazon. Got this offline, and yeah, this was okay. This was okay. I mean, yeah, it's 5 not unconnected one-shots, and I think for what it's worth, I think it's good. But I will say right now, as much as I love IDW, their stuff is expensive. So I wouldn't recommend paying $19.99. I got this offline for $12.95. So that's more reasonable in my opinion. I think that's a little more, minus shipping and handling. I think I got it at a better price off of line. I wouldn't pay $19.99 for this. Definitely something a little cheaper. If you can find this like a $5 bargain bin, that'd also work in your favor, because it is good. Don't get me wrong. I do like it, but there are stories in here. The stories themselves are just little one-shots, and I think they work best as one-shots. So let's dive into each. I'm going to review each story separately. So starts off with Mars Attacks Popeye, which this doesn't really follow the cartoon. It follows more of the Popeye comics. And I never really read any of the Popeye comics. I only knew Popeye from the cartoon, as I'm sure a lot of you guys did. And I kind of looked into this, but it's nice. It doesn't go into detail about all of Popeye's other characters we never saw in the cartoon. So I was kind of like, okay, who's Alice the Goon and who's the Jeep, and okay, I'll just go. And it's one of those, I'll just go along with it because it's Popeye and it's okay to be weird. But yeah, the one character I was surprised that wasn't in here was Bluto. I did not see Bluto at all in here. But the story is for Mars Attacks Popeye is that the Martians have come down to Sweet Haven and are controlled by one of Popeye's enemies, the Sea Hag. And she mind controls them and makes them attack the town, and Popeye and a group of other people these creatures called the Goons fight back against them. And there is some fun humor in here, and Popeye and his dad do eventually, drive them back. I could pretty much spoil this, because there's not... I am going to do some spoilers here there, but there are just some fun stuff in here. These are just meant to be funny comics anyway. But yeah, anywho, there's this there's some fun explanation between Professor, what was his name? The professor in Sweet Haven. Professor, I'm looking at the name right now. What's a Snozzle? Yeah, I think that's his name. Professor What's a Snozzle is trying to explain Martians to Popeye, and they have like a scientific name for them. Brashumus invaders. That's the scientific term for Martians, I guess. And Popeye asks, "What's a Marshkin?" I'm not mispronouncing the name. That's how he pronounces it. We all know how Popeye talks. He talks out all weird, so he says Marshkin. And when the professor, gives out this long explanation of what the Martians are and where they came from and what they all are in the scientific community, he goes, "Any questions, Popeye?" "Yeah." "What's a Marshkin again?" So yeah, it's all fun. I really did enjoy it. There's this funny way of how they defeat the Martians, how they use their laser guns against them, and it's also fun to see Popeye and his dad take out fight the Martians at the end, and how they just get rid of him is funny. And all in all, I think this is pretty good. The artwork is very early 20s. Like the artwork in here, which was done by Terry Betty. I believe that's the name. He did it. And it was also written by Martin Powell, whose work is alien to me. But the artwork is very pulpy. It does feel like the artwork does feel almost like how the early Popeye comics were made. So you got to give points for credibility. And even the Martians actually look okay. But the thing is, they just don't look right in Popeye. I mean, their robots that they use are cool, and they fit in pretty well, but, however, like I said, the Martians just don't, they just don't look right, and just so it's they're friggin' Martians from the movie Mars Attacks. I wasn't expecting complete accuracy, so it's not really a gripe. It's just something that's going to be a little jarring for most people, but you'll get over it real quick. Especially it's Popeye fighting aliens. You can't go wrong with that. Another thing I want to mention before we go any further is that once you read each one-shot, they divide it by the cover and the ending, the story description. And they give you the story description right after you read the story, and if you read it, you're like, well, I just read it. Why not just give this right after you put the cover art right next to it? Like, you put the cover art and then the story description and get right into the story, and then, divide each one-shot by the covers, and then next page you can be the story description, and then you can read on from there. It just feels kind of weird, because it just feels like, well, I just read that. Why tease at me anymore? It's kind of doesn't make any sense. So, anywho, there's that. Next was Mars Attacks Kiss, and this one was written by Chris Rael, art by Alan Robinson, but Chris Rael does 2 of them, I believe. Yeah, he does Mars Attacks Robots vs. Zombies as well. Mars Attacks Kiss has really good artwork, I'll say that. And it pretty much follows if anyone's watched Kiss Meets the Phantom, oh boy, it delves into the whole talismans and how the band got these superpowers from this being called the Elder and this creature called She. And the band, this is supposed to be like the origin of the band in like a superpowered term. But what happens is that their talismans get taken over by the Martians. They use their superpowers against them. And it's really weird. Again, it's Mars Attack. It's got Martians in it fighting a rock band with superpowers. But then again, you're going to look at this and be like, that is a bit weird. And there's also just some fun little humor. There's just like some fun little humor where Peter's talking to Gene, and Peter goes, well, how about Cold Gin? That sounds like a good song name. And he's like, I don't know, I never touch this stuff. And there's also like some good stuff. There's also like some good humor, like little jabs at the band itself. Like some of the dialogue is it's like I don't want my where Ace and where Paul and Gene rescue Ace and Peter from getting shot, and they're like, I don't want the band's drummer and lead guitarist to be lost to bad decisions. We know what's good for you. I was like, that's good humor. I'm not the biggest Kiss fan. I like their music, but it's my dad who's who's fully fledged member of the Kiss Army, and I've learned all information outside of the music of the band from him, and it just adds on to the humor. But yeah, the artwork's good, but this wasn't my favorite. Out of all of them, it just, for some reason, it just didn't stick with me. For some reason, I think it was just trying too hard to be funny. That's my problem with it, if that makes any sense. This wasn't my favorite, but I didn't hate it. That's the point. I didn't hate this one. This is just out of the 5, this is this is like the weakest in my opinion, but I still think it's good in some aspects. Sorry for the background noise, but following that is Mars Attacks the Real Ghostbusters, which this is actually not based on the comic book going on in IDW right now. This is actually based off of the 80s cartoon, which followed the movies. And this is actually, the story is that H.G. Wells, H.G. Wells' radio cast, which was back in the 1930s, one of the radio calls reach the Martians. They go down to Earth, their ship, something happens to their ship, and it blows up, and they all die, and they become Martian ghosts, and the Ghostbusters battle them. That is it, but there's some great lines in here, like, we see the Ghostbusters fight a giant ghost nutcracker that shoots walnuts at them. There's just some great lines in here. It makes fun of itself, and if you're a fan of the real Ghostbusters 80s cartoon, you're gonna love this, and I loved it. The comic was written by Eric Burnham, who I believe is writing the Ghostbusters IDW comic right now, so, yeah. Anywho, that's really that in a nutshell. It's really funny. I really enjoyed the humor there with the Martian ghosts. I thought that was pretty cool. Now moving on to my favorite, which was Mars Attacks Transformers. Mars Attacks Transformers was written by Sean McCarthy, which most of you guys know who read IDW Transformers, was the guy who wrote All Hail Megatron. And this was really funny. This was, out of all of them, I think this is the funniest. because it really pokes fun at itself. What it is that the Transformers have, the Autobots beat the Decepticons, they're being locked up, then suddenly the Martians come in, and it's great. Like, there's this one scene where the Autobots and Decepticons have to find out they have to work together to fight the Martians, and Optimus is posing this plan to him, and Megatron's like, Megatron, in order for us to beat the Martians, we must, don't you do it. And Megatron is literally the funnest one in this whole... in this whole story. He has the best dialogue in here. Like, when one of the Martians shrink him down to the size of a toy, like, the Martian says, now you will all feel the might of... Then Megatron, still at the size of an action figure, shoots the Martian guy, shoots the Martian in the head, and kills him. And then Starscream tries to crush him, and then Megatron's like, screw you, and just tackles him and starts mauling Starscream's face. There's just some great humor in here. I loved it. And the artwork is really good. I really enjoyed the artwork in here. It just has some, like, the facial expressions are funny. Sean McCarthy really knows how to write these characters, especially in a humorous tone. And we also get to see Cosmos in here. And Cosmos, like, they make fun of his alt mode, which is a flying saucer, and Prowl goes, you know, I never really figured out his alt mode up until now. But, yeah, the Transformers one is definitely funny, especially how it ends when the Autobots and Decepticons just shake hands like, "Oh yeah, this was a pivotal day of our history. You're still going to try and kill us, aren't you, Megatron?" Yep. But yeah, the final one is Mars Attacks Robots vs. Zombies, which I've never read Robots vs. Zombies because I'm kind of zombied out. But after reading this, I'm kind of like, I want to read Robots vs. Zombies now. And this is the cool thing about the Robots vs. Zombies comic. You can pretty much read this without any knowledge of it, but the story in a nutshell is that the Martians discover a gate that can allow them to secretly go to Earth and try to invade it. Problem is, the world has become a zombie-filled planet, and and all that's left are robots who are not too keen on having them there, too. It's really good. There's some great humor in there, too, especially with the Martians themselves. They just have these... they just have, like, they're talking to a science team member, and they're like, "Why are you wearing a human's coat?" "I like it, thank you." But all in all, like I said, this was really fun. All of them were fun. Like I said, the Mars Attacks Transformers is definitely my favorite, followed by the real Ghostbusters, then... Oh, wait, Humans vs. Zombies, then Ghostbusters, then Popeye, then Kiss. That's the number of like them. But there wasn't one I hated, actually. There wasn't one where I was like, that was terrible. I never said that with any of them. They just ranged from okay to great. So, like I said, if you want to check this out, if you want to check out them all on a whole, I'd say buy this online. It would be a lot cheaper. Or you can just go online or look in comic book shops for just the specific one-shot you want. Because I'm pretty sure there are a lot of people who wouldn't want all of them at once. But I'm pretty sure a lot of people, if you just want to look for one, just look online for one or just go to a comic book shop. And again, I highly recommend this if you're a fan of Transformers, Popeye, Ghostbusters, Kiss, and Mars Attacks themselves, because it's just I think this is just a load of fun, and I'm really actually excited to see Mars Attacks Judge Dredd, like I've said. And also in the back, you see there's a lot of good fake cover art for some of their stuff. Like, they've got Mars Attacks Miss Fury, Mars Attacks cover for a fake Mars Attacks Opus, Mars Attacks Judge Dredd, which is now going to be a comic, Mars Attacks Star Slammers, I've never heard of Star Slammers, Mars Attacks Chew, Mars Attacks Madman, and Mars Attacks Spike, Mars Attacks Strangers in Paradise, and Mars Attacks ROG 2000, and then Mars Attacks Cerberus. And, oh yeah, Mars Attacks Rom the Space Knight. So,
I got one you could do. Mars Attacks Uranus.
that was my dad. Yep. But all in all, like I said, those fake covers, but who knows, maybe we'll actually get covers that will be actual crossovers, like with Mars Attacks Judge Dredd. But anywho, yeah, this was all around fun, and I'd recommend this if you're a crossover nut like me. Later.